to start.
He is.
These guys probably won't get to say anything. You know, kind of say a few words and open it up for questions, because sometimes I may not say what you're interested in, but one of the things that last night we had to get together, and a lot of people that hadn't seen each other in years, and it was really a lot of fun. And Melinda and I were driving in this morning, and I said, of all the stories that I heard, I didn't hear one guy say, how many points I got in the game, or how many shots I didn't get, or I didn't get enough minutes. And last night it was all about relationships and stories, and all I did basically is go to this 5 guys or 4 guys over here someplace, and just stand there and listen to hear stuff that I didn't even know went on. But from a basketball standpoint, we'd come off of a team that had gone to the Final Four of the NIT, and we lost 2 players, 2 starters, Marbury and Dominic. And a lot of people thought after the fact, after we had done well, that one of the reasons is that Dominic wasn't with us, and everybody had a chance to get, come together. But I'll say this about Dominic: to my knowledge, they all liked each other for the most part. And we felt like maybe if we'd had Dominic, we might have won it all, but we had a good foundation coming back. We ended up starting 2 seniors, maybe 3. It's kind of an inside story. Vern asked last night, Vern, I was a senior. I thought 2 things: either one, he graduated in 3 years, or 2, he was a 5-year guy. But anyway, Terry Fair and Lamar Hurd were seniors, and James and Vern were juniors, and Crosby was a sophomore. And then we had a couple of freshmen, McMillan and Hartree, sophomore core, and another senior, Floyd, and that pretty much took care of our rotation. And we didn't have a whole lot of size, but we were pretty good. I mean, and particularly as a team, we won a lot of games early. We got into January, we won games, and for whatever reason, whether it was coaching or playing or both, we flattened out in February. But the last game of the season, we beat Tennessee double digits, whatever, and we're going into the tournament, and everything came together defensively. You look at those scores, and they were down in the 50s to 60s and the low 70s, and we beat Ole Miss first, and I'll just say 14 points, and then we beat, I think, Tennessee like 19, and then Alabama 13, and then that took us into the first round, because back then we didn't have 68 teams in. I really don't remember exactly how many. It was enough that we got in, because we wanted SEC championship for the first time. And we played VCU, and that was a really close game. I mean, I might have been tied at half, and we won by 2, or we were up 2 and tied in the second half, and they James shot the ball, weren't you the one that shot the ball that everybody accused Fair of her of tipping in?
I think it was a tip in.
No, it wasn't a tip in, because it was on the rim, you can't tell anybody it was a tip in.
All right, it was on the rim. You remember it's better mine, though. For sure, right?
Then we were getting ready to go to Syracuse for the East, and we got snowed out up in Athens, and we had to come all the way down here to Macon to fly out on a 2-engine plane to get all the way up to Syracuse. And we got up there, and they were being nice to us because Ohio State was there, we were there, University of Georgia was there, Carolina was there, and St. John's. And St. John's was seeded 1, and Carolina 2, Ohio State 3, we were the 4 seed. And it was just, we were gonna go through the motions, and that was setting up the finals between Carolina and St. John's. And we played St. John's, and it was a tough game. And somebody that played really well for us in that particular game was Terry Fair. He's not with us. Terry and Lamar and Troy Hitchcock, who was, like 7'1" or something, weighed 190. But he played great. They had Whittington, and how tall was he, Vern? You remember?
Whittington, about 7 foot.
Yeah, and their shooter, James.
Chris Mullins.
Yeah, Chris Mullins, and they were good. In fact, they'd been on Sports Illustrated, Beast of the East, and we played them until Fair got 26 points and 9 boards, or maybe it might have been 27 points, but he played a great game, and our other guys played well too, so we won, and we were getting ready to go in to play North Carolina. North Carolina had Perkins, who I think was a first-round pick, and Daugherty, who was a 7-footer, and then they had another Daugherty spelled his name differently, but he was 6'8", and they had Braddock at the point guard, and Michael Jordan was the other guard. And so they were pretty good. But we were better than they were that particular game. And one of the things that I like to talk about, and I talk about it all the time, was that in Terry Fair, he played an outstanding game against St. John's. He's not unlike probably 99% of players then and today. Everybody is interested in doing what? Going to the next level. So you figure, here's a guy going against a 7-footer, has an outstanding game, good defensively, comes into this particular game, got 11 points in the first half, but he picked up 3 fouls. And in the second half, he picked up his 4th foul. And so we put Richard Korn in, who was a sophomore. And he played really well. And he ended up, I think, with 7, was playing doing a great job. And I never put Terry Fair back in. Now put yourself in his shoes. You want to go to the next level. You're playing well. And you're sitting over there, and you got another foul, but you can go in and play. But I didn't put him in. Richard played 18 minutes in his second half. We were up by, I think, 15 with 5 to go, and we let them get back in, and they made a free throw or something. We ended up winning by 5. But stop and think about a guy who had 26 and 9 against a 7-footer, the number 1 seed, going against the number 2 seed, and they got 7 feet, 6'8", 6'9" in the front line, he had 11 points in the first, and he never complained, or I would probably say bitched. He never complained about, why didn't I get in? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I get more minutes? Why? I mean, that was as unusual of a person that you know, you could coach, because it wasn't about me. It was about him being thrilled about, you know, Perkins said he didn't even know what conference we were in, and Fair answered it for him, the SEC. And then James, the game gets started and they zone us, and James comes in. He doesn't come in because he started, and he probably hit, I don't know, I know he hit 7 out of 10 for the game, but he probably hit 3 or 4 in the early part, because he took them out of their zone. And when they had to go, man, guys like Vern, you know, and he able to use his ability, and he ends up with 16 or 18 points, and we end up winning that particular game. Now, another thing to brag on Lamar Hurd, Terry Fair was maybe supposed to be one of our most physical players.
Mm-hmm.
He led us in rebounds for the year. I think it was like 236, 237, I'm not sure. I mean, somebody that's in here, stats can, but it's close. I mean, I might be off one, but Lamar Hurd was a stick, you know, but a heck of a player. Well, let's say Fair had 237 rebounds, Lamar Hurd had 236. And he kind of held us together, because he played a high post position. James tried to play a little bit when he was a freshman, but you know, the high post man got the ball a lot, but he was supposed to distribute it. And James would get in the high post, and somebody would step in, and James didn't hit him. I'd say, James, what the hell did you throw the guy the ball? I didn't think he was open, coach. So he put it airborne. He came to me, he says, Coach, can I play over there where they get the shoot? Crosby dominated the game from the point position, because he if you go out and match us up, you know, Hurd did a heck of a job on Perkins, held him 2 in the first half. Perkins, first round, I think he was the first round draft, you know, and Vern was going head to head with Jordan and Crosby. Point wise, I think you had 17 and Crosby had 17, and James had 20. So basically, we were individually, we were strong, and where Gerald made his contribution was in the SEC tournament. I think he was like 21 for 28 in the 3 games that we played. And then up there, he goes up and dominates Braddock. That was their point guard, and he was so much stronger. And so when you put all those together, that was the reason why that we were as successful as we were, because you know we were good individually, but we were better as a team. And so you know, I'll quit talking, because you'll be able to get out and watch some of the games. So I guess you want these guys to say something.
We'll open up for questions.
Yeah, Vernon and James. I kind of get back to the regional in Syracuse. You mentioned that St. John's team had Chris Mullen ranked #1. Everybody was looking forward to that St. John, North Carolina matchup. What was y'all as a group, as players? What was y'all, I guess, just mindset going into that regional? Obviously, you guys run the Dogs. How did y'all use that as motivation for that thing?
Well, we had just got back from winning the SEC tournament, and so when we got into the NCAA tournament, I think we were feeling kind of confident that we could beat anybody the way we played. As Coach said, I think as a team, we all play together, we all pull for one another, but I think the biggest key for us was Lamar.
Yeah.
He can do everything, and he do everything well. And he was one of the biggest reasons we could win games, cause he made everybody better. And anytime we get a player like that, we all good. And coach said, for me, they playing with a guy like Gerald, who could shoot the ball as well. He probably was born before his time, so he wish he was born now. Cause he was shooting the ball the way the guys shoot today. And, you know, that helped my game. So I'm a driver and stuff, so him out there, they can't leave him open. And then they got Banks on the other wing, they can't leave him open, so I can drive the basket. So man, but I think we just play together, pull for one another.
Yeah, we've been together for a minute, and we played in the summers together as well. But we sort of made a pact in the sense of if we was gonna miss spring break during that year, we may as well go to the Final Four. It's kind of standing joke, but I think we really truly believe that, and just selfless guys. Vern was a high school All-American, I was a high school All-American. We played in Oakland, California back then. They should have 2 games, but he had already signed with Georgia. And, you know, we became really close. We was roommates our freshman year. He said, why don't you come to Georgia? Because I was really interested in going to North Carolina. But after talking to him, and then speaking to my family, but he really convinced me because we really became close out there. And I'm glad I made the right choice. And Coach Jones is a heck of a coach. And just a selfless group that we played with. We didn't care about who scored and things of that nature, like Coach Jones alluded to. And it's a fun group to be around. We're like family. Yeah. Some people say that stuff like family, but I cannot see Vern for a couple of years, but it's like we never miss a beat, right? Yeah. We keep in touch, and Coach Jones is always around. And Derek and I went up to out to Kansas City when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and his memory is amazing. I don't like to even, he can recall stuff like with time on the clock, right, and saying you should have been doing this. It's a great, it's an amazing gift. So it's just always great to be around him and spend time with Tim and Melinda as well. So it's like our parents when we were away from home as well.
Here's a story about how close the team was. Yeah. We playing in a tournament in Atlanta, and we won the tournament, and they called MVP out, and they called him to win the MVP, and he got up there, and when they handed it to him, he said, no, I don't deserve this. He called me out, and he said, Vern, this is your trophy, come get it.
Remember that. Yeah, y'all, Coach talked about Terry Fair and what he meant, you know, as a, what he did as a player, but obviously you guys were great friends. Just, I know he passed away a few years ago, but just what he meant, I guess, individually, each of y'all, and just how y'all try to carry his memory.
Well, the big day, he kept us all relaxed. Nah, I mean, he was one of the hardest working guys I ever played with, you know. He might have been undersized a lot, guarding the big guys in the league, you know. Going against 7-footers, and I think he probably what 6'9", something like that, going against all these big guys. But he was a real hard worker.
Yeah, he's missed for sure. You know it's gonna be a tough day. Him not being here, him and Lamar and Troy, and we just got to pull together and keep each other strong. But he was before his time. Talked to Coach Gay about a month or 2 ago, and he said something very interesting where he said Terry was the Dennis Rodman before Dennis Rodman, but I think he's more skilled. But he was amazing, and like Vern alluded to, he kept us in stitches, always kept us loose, and he is one of the hardest working players I played with besides Vern. Vern worked his tail off. I never played with a player or against a player that worked as hard as he did.
Question for James and Vern, just what has this weekend meant to you guys to be back to be telling these stories and to be honored the way you guys are going?
Well, I mean, it's always great to see all the guys you went to school and played with, you know. Like Coach said, we haven't seen some of us in 2-3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but I think we all know that, you know, we ever need each other, they call you and we all talk all the time and stuff like that. So, you know, when you get that team, that's what a team is. You get up close and you become family.
It's amazing. I live here in town and I haven't seen some of the guys for a while, and I've been like a kid on Christmas for the last couple of weeks, just waiting to see my former teammates and coach. So it's a beautiful thing. You say 40 years, but at the end of the day, it just don't seem like it. You just got good people around you, right?
Just to give you an example, one of the guys on our team who's from Kentucky, a guy named Monroe Jones. You don't know who Monroe Jones is, I mean, you don't, because you look at the film and he's not in the film, and you look at the stat sheet, he's not on the stat sheet, but last night, he was right there in the hub. You know, everybody, Vern comes in, he sees, everybody sees me, passes me by, goes over and hugs Jones. You know, I mean, he was part of the family, not because, I mean, you know, as far as points or anything else, he was just part of the family, and ended up going and coaches he's from Kentucky, and he coached in Kentucky, and he got administration, and was in there for 31 years, and you know, so he touched a lot of people's lives, and he's special. Managers the same way. We've got a couple of managers. Oh, John's put this on. Greg's over there. You know, managers are special people because they're not getting any publicity. They get work. They get, you know, it's one thing if a coach or a head coach says to baby do this, or you know, they do that, but when players start saying, hey, go get my, they gotta put up with that stuff. You know, they're just special, man. It just makes, you know, that's just part of the family. It is special.
For all three of y'all, what's it like watching the excitement surrounding Georgia basketball and Coach White's first year here?
Well, I mean, I've known of Coach White for a number of years, when he was at Louisiana Tech, and I knew who the coach at Louisiana Tech was. But they got in the NIT and they had a chance to play the University of Georgia. And they came in and they beat the University of Georgia. A year later, they get in the NIT, they play Florida State, they play Florida State in Tallahassee. They beat Florida State. In a regular season game, one of those years in there, they play Oklahoma, they put 100 on the board against Oklahoma in Norman. So Florida's got an opening, and I work out in the morning with a number of people who graduated from the University of Florida, and try to stay as far away from them as I can. But every once in a while we'll get into a discussion, and they were saying, who do you think's gonna get that job? Who do you think's gonna get the job there? And I said, well, I don't know, but I think the guy I didn't know Mike White, other than the fact that he's at Louisiana Tech, he's beaten one SEC team, one AC team on the road. He goes to Oklahoma, and that guy, they were being coached by a guy who was a coach at Florida, Lon Kruger, who's an outstanding coach. He goes in there and puts 100 on them on their home court. So I'm just saying, one of the guys, and his name was being mentioned, I said, don't be surprised if this guy doesn't get the job. Well, he got the job. I'd never talked to Mike White. I mean, you know, our paths didn't cross. I mean, I had been out of coaching, you know, when he was getting started. But you follow people, particularly, you know, and then when he came here, I thought he was really a good fit for the University of Georgia. I think, you know, I just think he is, and I'm happy he's here, and I think a lot of people are happy that he's here, and I think you know, I think they got a heck of a chance to win today. I really do. So I'm, you know, you say excited, you know, I get nervous rather than I get excited when I go to watch games. I really don't watch Georgia play on TV very often. I used to, you know, I mean, you get nervous, and I've been through all that stuff I need. You know, I might go back and watch some movie, Hallmark or something, and Melinda will score back to me. And if we got a big lead in the last 3 minutes, I might go watch the game.
Kind of follow up, James, I mean, like I said, you live here in town, you've seen the team play.
I seen him play quite a bit this
Quite a
year.
bit, I mean, just kind of, you
been
see
to
the challenge,
practice.
yeah.
Yep, been to practice and, Zach, actually I practiced a couple months ago with Dominic, was here visiting with his
Yeah,
son, on an unofficial visit, and, had good vibes from him. Our daughter attended from Florida, she got an undergrad from Florida, so she was always excited, she keeps up with that stuff better than I do. But I think he's a good fit, I think he's gonna do a good job, if he can recruit the state. Just watching them play, they play hard, they compete in practice, kind of reminiscent of some of the things we did in practice, with the level of intensity that they play with, so, I think I allude to what Coach Doom said, I think he's a good fit for the program, I think he's gonna do a good job.
Bert, I don't know how much you've watched Georgia basketball recently, but they have a guard from New York, and I'm curious if you've had any impressions of Terry Roberts being named from New York.
I've seen him play, yeah, he's a good player, yeah. Yeah, just gotta improve and get better and better, yeah, but I think he's gonna be good.
James, if you had to go out there today and defend Oscar Sheboy, what's your strategy for that?
I'm sorry?
If you had to go out there today and defend Oscar Sheboy, what's your strategy for that?
I wouldn't guard him, Terry
Help.
would guard him. And if I did, I'd try help, what's the help? Yeah, help, we're gonna have to.
Burn
a team
the
effort.
words right out.
Yeah.
Hey, what would happen?
He's a load.
What would happen? He'd say, if we're in a locker room and saying you're going, guys already know who they're gonna guard, cause in practice you've already gone over this stuff. And James would probably said, Coach, why am I guarding this? I'm a perimeter.
I certainly would have. You're right. That's valid, fact.
But since that guy got a 30-something against Georgia up there, he hadn't done very well.
Yeah.
He's you watch him play. I watched him play Florida the other day, and the center at Florida was making more of a contribution to his team than what was it, Tenshinbe or something was. And, if he plays the way he played against Florida, we're gonna win.
We have time for 2 more questions. One more? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.